Garbage time. So I wanted to save this because I was going to include this in the gym dropping session, but I said, no. I want to talk about this separately because I think it warrants that attention. So the Eagles waived quarterback Jaime Newman today. And this doesn't necessarily spell the end of his career, but it's not a good omen. First of all, he goes undrafted. All 32 teams passed on him multiple times. Not everybody had a first round pick, but at least 5 times every team in the league passed on him essentially. Didn't think he was worthy of a draft pick. He then goes undrafted. He signs with a team in Philadelphia that really doesn't have the answer at quarterback unless it's truly what Lloyd Brunson says it is, which is Hurts season. If it's not, they got nothing at quarterback. So their roster isn't one that you should be getting cut from in June. But he's probably been so awful that they said, this guy stinks. Why? We don't even need to hold up a roster spot for him. Let this be a cautionary tale to parents out there everywhere. And I had this really awesome conversation with my guy, Derek B, about Dwayne Haskins last year when Dwayne was stinking it up. And Derek B knew that Dwayne was going to stink it up. And he said his dad did him a disservice because he shouldn't have let his son come out after one good year at Ohio State. He should have said, son, that was a hell of a season. You're not ready yet. Go back to Ohio State, light it up again, get more tutelage, get more experience, and then come out. But he didn't do that. His son was hot. He threw 50 touchdowns. He said, son, go to the NFL. Go get your money. He wasn't ready mentally. He wasn't ready physically. He wasn't ready, period, to play in the NFL. But he got drafted in the first round. That's the difference, though, is that he got drafted in the first round. There was enough tape for him to get drafted in the first round. Unfortunately, Jaime Newman opted out of the 2020 season. And remember, I said this prior to the college football season. I said, nobody needs 2020 more than Jaime Newman. And then he opted out. And I said, that's a mistake, but that's his choice. Just like deciding on whether to get the COVID vaccine, that's your choice. That's your right. You can do it, you cannot do it. You have every right to make that decision. And players that opted out had every right to opt out. But I said, if Jaime Newman's smart, he'll come back. Because the NCAA said, hey, we giving everybody do-overs. Anybody that wants a mulligan, you can do it. Hell, even if you decided to opt in and play, you want a do-over, you want a mulligan, we'll let you play. Even if you were a fifth-year senior, we'll give you another year. So Jaime Newman had the opportunity to come back to college, to go back to Georgia, and prove to everybody that he could play football. And for some inexplicable reason, he decided he didn't need another year of seasoning, that the Wake Forest tape was good enough that people could go back to 2019 and see what he did for Wake Forest, and that was good enough. That was the worst tape I've ever seen, and I'm over-exaggerating. Okay? Hyperbole. But I'm trying to hammer home the point that the people around him, his parents, his handlers, people should have said, hey, Jaime, bro, I know you want to go to the league. You're not ready. That shit at Wake Forest, that's not good enough. That long, drawn-out read option shit y'all running, that's not good enough, Jaime. That's just not going to get you drafted, bro. You need to go back to school, playing a pro-style offense at Georgia against SEC talent, and show what you can do for a year. And then, if you want to parlay that into entering into the NFL draft and having an opportunity, then you do that. He didn't have to leave Georgia. He did that on his own volition. How foolish does that look now? And I said at the time, what is he doing? Why? I wasn't upset about the opt-out. He had every right to do that. We didn't know about COVID. When he made that decision, he didn't know. What are we up against here? I need to do what's right for me and my family. But he could have come back. That's where the mistake was made. He could have played college football in the upcoming season. He didn't have to go into the league. Why? lie. Whoever told him that that was a good idea, they need to wash their face and get their mind right. It's a terrible idea for that young man to enter his name into the NFL draft. He was terrible at the Senior Bowl, and he didn't impress anybody with his tape. And I told you, that tape is terrible. And apparently 32 teams in the NFL agreed with me because he didn't get drafted. But I said, you know what? Maybe Philadelphia isn't the worst place for him to land. They got Jalen Hurts, man. Like, by week 7, they might be turning the reins over to old Jaime Newman and giving him some runs, seeing what he can do. The man didn't even make it out of June. Yikes. You know what this feels like? This feels like when the NBA didn't have the one and done rule, when you could leave straight from high school and enter your name into the draft. Once you hired an agent and you put your name into the NBA draft, you couldn't go back to school and play ball. That was it. You had your chance. You bypassed your chance. Now you got to make it. You know how many guys that had true talent that if they went to college and played for a year or 2 or 3 could have made it to the NBA and actually had a career? You know how many guys fell by the wayside because they decided, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to worry about having to go to classes. I just want to play ball. So I'm going to skip the entire process and jump to the NBA and didn't get drafted. You know how many guys fell by the wayside that could actually play ball? But somebody didn't get in their ear, or nobody got in their ear and said, hey, look, young fella, go to school. You may not want the education that they're giving you, but use the platform to get better and propel yourself into a real prospect that could get drafted into the NBA and have a career. This feels like that to me. It's not apples to apples, but somebody needed to get to Jaime Newman and say, Jaime, this isn't the right decision for you. And a lot of times, guys can get a situation where they can actually contact the NFL Draft Advisory Board and they will tell you where you're projected to be selected. And a lot of times, your agent will tell you, or anybody close to you will tell you, if it's not 3rd round or better, don't come out. Go back to school. I don't know if he contacted them. I don't know what was said to him, but he couldn't have been blindsided by being undrafted. He had a poor week at the Senior Bowl. Nobody was talking about. His name wasn't buzzing during draft season. This should not have come as a surprise to him. He did himself a disservice, and it didn't have to happen. He's got talent, but he never allowed the process to play itself out. And that's unfortunate. It really is. We'll hear about Jaime Newman playing in the CFL, or we'll hear him playing in one of these random ass leagues, XFL, or, you know, the new league I just talked about coming back, and the USFL. We'll hear about him in one of these leagues. Nobody will care. He had a chance to have an NFL career, and it may not be over. He may get a run with somebody else. Somebody else may kick the tires and let him sit on the bench like Josh Rosen, and he may get an opportunity down the road. But more likely than not, if the Eagles are spitting this guy out in June before we even get to training camp, it ain't looking too good for Jaime Newman in the league. And that's unfortunate.
Louie.